Hello, church. Welcome to the end of another week. I know many of you saw Bob Van Zandt's video update from the Healthy Church team earlier this week or even last week. And so you know that we are nearing our return to in-person worship on Sunday, May 2nd. If you haven't had a chance to see that video, I want to invite you to go to the YouTube page, which you can link to from our church website or the e-news to find that. But you're also going to get some more information about returning to in-person worship. So in the next few days, you're going to receive a mailing from the church, and it's going to have several things in it, primarily about in-person worship. We're going to want you to read the letter in its fullness. We also are supplying our in-person worship guidelines in a condensed form, and you will need to read through those if you plan to come to in-person worship. And then there's also some other information from the discipleship team as they're beginning some work on discerning and trying to look ahead at what it means for us to be a church in the post-pandemic world. And that really involves all of us. And so they have some questions that they want to hear from you about. And then there's also, if you have been faithful in continuing your practice of generosity throughout this time, especially at the beginning of this year, you have a quarterly giving statement in your mailing as well. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure you take time to read through everything that we've sent. But I also just want to share a few things as well today. One is to just be mindful that as we make this shift or pivot, whatever we want to call it at this point, on Sunday, May 2nd, we are going to be moving into what we call hybrid worship. And what that means is that we're going to offer in-person worship and online worship at the same time so that we're having the same shared experience. So that means for both in-person folks and those still worshiping online, worship's going to look a little different than what we've been doing virtually. And that's just because we're going to be back in the sanctuary with people and there's some restrictions in place. And so we are going to start kind of at one level and then work our way to continue to build on it. One of the facets of that is going to be dependent on how many of you may be willing to serve on the technical side of making our online worship and streaming happen. And we have some new equipment that's coming. We're looking for some other elements and pieces of equipment and software that may be coming further down the road to help us. And all of those things will be user-friendly, things that we can train others on, but we will need teams of folks to help with that. In addition to the teams of folks that we need to help make in-person worship happen: parking lot attendants, welcome station greeters, and ushers. Some of you expressed willingness to do that on our recent survey, but you didn't list your name. So we still need to hear from you if you're willing to serve in that way. And there's a link to be able to express that interest in the e-news this week. I'll also be going back through the surveys to see where people did list their names, but we want you to just have in mind that on April 29th, it's a Thursday at 6:30 p.m., we're going to have a walkthrough for all potential volunteers to be able to come and experience and see what it's going to be like to kind of move people in and out and through the worship service, from the parking lot to the welcome station to ushering, so that people can get a feel for what those roles are. Also, in the next week, you should be on the lookout for a video that the Healthy Church team is making. We're going to be making it, I think, on Sunday if the weather holds out for us. And it is going to be a walkthrough for the congregation through video to show you what it will be like from the time you enter the parking lot through the end of the service and back to your car, so you can know what to anticipate when we resume in-person worship on May 2nd. So a lot of work, both in front and behind the scenes, are happening as we prepare for worship and strive to continue to create a meaningful and inspiring and uplifting worship service, despite some of the limitations that we have. And we know that we are going to be rejoicing and thankful for those of us that are able to gather physically together. And I want you to hear that if you're not comfortable yet coming back, it is perfectly fine, that we are still, can still be and will still be the gathered community of believers and still connected as one church. And so I pray that you do what you are comfortable with. If you have questions after you read the material that's sent to you, I hope you'll ask. I hope you'll be in prayer about what your next step will be. And friends, I look forward, in the meantime, seeing you on Sunday for our virtual worship service. Be well and be safe.